So there's 17 Titans. The world knows now. So what do we do? Let's just let them loose. And oh yeah, Godzilla dates Mothra, and they're like a couple.
Take that.
Guys, I'm Ted,
I'm Manuel.
And I'm Josh.
and this is Nerds Make Sense. Welcome. Have a seat. Enjoy with us. So we're going to talk about... We all went to see the movie today. We went to go see Godzilla King of the Monsters. So...
I saw most of it.
Yeah, Josh... oh, yeah. So for this whole episode, anything Josh said is questionable because he fell asleep like 4 times.
But I didn't fall asleep for very long.
He didn't know Mothra was in this movie.
Dude, and he fell asleep on the parts where like, we're all going to die! And fucking Mayday, Mayday! and
Okay, can I at least explain myself first?
No.
Okay.
Next question.
Now, you guys both know I've been working a lot of hours lately because of the fact that, one guy basically quit on us and another 2 got
Call
fired.
him out. He doesn't watch this. What's his name?
Yeah, what's his name?
Uh,
Give me his name and social.
Well, Brandon's last day is tomorrow. He's the one that quit on us.
Okay, cool. What's his social?
I don't know what his social security number is. And then the other 2 were Freddie and Rod, who got fired.
Oh boy.
Feels bad.
But yeah, well,
Big
actually,
ouchies, bro.
Speaking of
I have
fired.
no idea if Rod actually listens to this. He said he was going to, but I don't know if he does.
Speaking
So
of
if you
fired.
do, dude, I'm really sorry about what happened.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are we gonna shout out people that are listening? Let's see. I have 3 friends that I know that listen.
I'm only shouting them out because I said their names already.
You
guys
get to
wanna-
shout out your friends. I get to shout out mine. Samani probably listens. Ben probably listens. My friend Freshman probably listens.
His name's Freshman?
His name's Freshman.
That's so fresh.
His name's not actually Freshman.
I'm not joking. That's so fresh.
That's just what I call him. I don't know. My other friends don't care. Maybe Thomas. Maybe I quote Thomas a lot because he's like
Susanna, she said she watched it, didn't she?
I never gave her a link to it. I can link
dude.
her to it. Yeah, Susanna. I'm mentioning you right now. So yeah.
When this comes out in like 2 months.
I'll make sure.
When it
I'll make
comes
sure
out.
this all gets edited out.
Anyway, so hold on. Let's get back on track. So speaking of fire, Godzilla, that was fire.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
was
go ahead,
That
you
was a
were-
good segue.
Go ahead, Manuel. You were writing down in your notepad, so go ahead.
Bro, I took like 3 notes.
all we
Let's see. Our first subject is
Yeah, he took like 3 notes. What is it like? 4 hours
Godzilla.
after the movie's already over?
Godzilla. Okay, well, my first note says it was rad as fuck. In clinical terms, it was rad as hell.
I don't know if that is.
It is.
Clinical terms.
Oh, it is. I'm a doctor.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Oh shit.
It was just really good. I was pumped going in. I was pumped coming out, and it was a blast. It was a blast overall.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question at the end of this. I'm just gonna let you all know.
Yep.
So it'll be like the final question because I seen a good question on Twitter. No spoiler for it when I seen the question. I'm
Okay.
gonna ask a question, but so what I liked about it is like if you like I feel like I told you last time really quick. I said I don't want anyone to call me out down the line. That last time when we talked about the trailer, I said like I was a Godzilla enthusiast,
Yeah.
and then I bought Kong the other day and found out like the whole end credit scene
Oh, yeah,
was
he
like
told me
for
about
the
this.
fucking
Oh,
new movie.
yeah,
That
he-
doesn't count because that's Kong. Don't get me twisted. That's Kong with Godzilla stuff in it.
If we're gonna be honest, I didn't even watch Kong yet, so.
So I'm just letting y'all know. Anyways, I love the movie. I loved all the movies. It's just and then we seen it in IMAX, and I always wanted to watch Godzilla.
Was it
in IMAX.
was it actually IMAX?
Yeah, it's the
Well, it was what they call Dolby Atmos.
yeah.
What the hell
It's
is
not
that?
like true IMAX, but it's like the next best thing.
Bro, I don't know.
Oh.
Josh slept through
Is
it,
it-
so it was pretty fucking loud though.
It was hella loud.
I loved it.
The sound in that theater was great. I mean the picture. I don't know for any theater like if it just says like oh yeah this is the super high def screen like it all looks the fucking same to me. I don't understand like maybe my eyes just suck and I can't see that fine of details. Like I don't know. It looks the same. Like it sounded great. It sounded awesome.
I loved every part of it. Like it was just really great.
Yeah. It.
Sometimes I found myself like just like not staring blankly, but I was just like not thinking. I was just like wow.
Yeah. It just like so the pacing of everything was really
Well, hold
good.
up, Josh has to ask if he liked it, dude.
Oh
Come on,
yeah,
dude.
did
Come
you?
on,
Oh
dude.
yeah, did you like it? Did you like?
Did you like? Yeah.
Yeah, the 20 minutes that you saw while you were awake. Did you like it?
I saw way more than that. It was more like I missed 20 minutes of it through the sleeping.
Oh, bro.
And it wasn't even true sleeping because every time I started to doze off, I picked right back up.
Dude, you can't say that. But then when we were talking about it in the car, you're like, "Oh, that's the part I fell asleep on."
Well, because there are
like a
some
huge
times
part.
that you've mentioned some things that I don't remember, and it's like I know I was tired in there. I know I was starting to fall asleep, but it's not because the movie was boring. It's just I've been like I said, I've been working so much lately, and I'm just fucking tired.
The air conditioner was getting to me, but all air conditioners do that to me, make me fall asleep.
And it's like it was the same kind of atmosphere that I have at work, which is not
you just sit and stare at a screen like, oh yeah, this is when I normally sleep. Like
like,
I'm at work.
It's like it's so cold. It's cold at work, and I've usually got like a sweatshirt on or something.
Yeah.
And it's like I've caught myself dozing at work several times because of the way that everything is set up.
Mm-hmm. That theater would have been like a great theater to bring like a fucking blanket into.
Oh yeah. But then I really would have passed out.
I would have been cozied up. I would have been having the time
I would have been waking
life.
up. I would have honestly. I would have passed out at the beginning of the movie, woken up when everybody started clapping.
Dude, I didn't even clap it like.
Okay. Well, so are you gonna say if you like the movie or not?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
It was thoroughly enjoyable. I do want to see the things that I missed, obviously. Because I know there were some important details that I probably missed.
Catch our recap episode in 3 months when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Exactly.
But what I did see, and I did see a majority of the movie. I really did enjoy. So, and of course, I liked the first one too. So I had every anticipation of going in and enjoying this one.
Yeah. So while we're on the subject of the first one, I know people's biggest gripes about it was that it lacked the monster fights.
Yeah.
This one did not go light on the monster fights.
No,
there was plenty of monster fights. There was like different fights. There was like different like one-on-one encounters with monsters with like the military people like Monarch and them fighting the monsters and just seeing the monsters do shit and there wasn't like the cinematic thing that they did in the first movie where like we saw Godzilla's leg in a shot and then we heard it rumble and then it pans up and we see his face and then it cuts away and I'm like no, we were full on monster action, full frontal.
Yeah. It was really
That's a hell of a way.
Yeah, it was good. Like and I know and the thing like it mentioned in the movie when they're talking about like how ways they can get like the Titans like get rid of them and then the guy's like, oh dude, Godzilla can do that. And it was like, oh what? So we're gonna make him our pet? And it was like, no, we're gonna be his. And they won't lie. That's basically how the film is. Like, it's about the monsters and the people are just there. That's how it is because the way they span it is that these monsters ruled the earth once, and that they're in control. We were just in their world. We're living in it. So it's basically how it was, and it was great that way.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I know people were talking about this movie already who had seen it, like critics and whatever. Were saying that there wasn't enough time for the people to develop their stories, but
it's not really about them.
It wasn't. For one, it wasn't really about them, and two, they were still pretty generous for these people parts. There was a lot of stuff. There, like we got to see a lot of things. Like I don't think they did every character justice. Cause I know like my favorite of the people like only had a few one-off lines, but like I looked at it and was like, that's a real cool guy right there. It's like the black dude, like the beard. He was, I don't even know what his name was, but that actor is always like really funny. So I lashed on him. I'm like I hope he says like one funny thing.
Ice Cube's son.
It is Ice Cube's son, huh?
His name's Doughboy.
Yeah. It's Ice Cube's son. Yeah. And so I was like, I was ready for him to say like one just super funny thing like out of nowhere, and then that just be his whole scene. But at least he lived. Whatever. So most of the focus for the humans is on the scientist from the first movie, Shirazawa, right? I think it's Shirazawa, and then the two parents of Millie Bobby Brown, whose names I don't remember.
11, yeah.
Yeah. What was your opinion on those two? Because they were like at odds. Like, who do you think was right in this scenario?
So, do we explain the scenario?
Oh, we should explain the scenario. Oh, okay. You're right. I'm skipping ahead like 5 steps.
It's alright, man. It's alright.
Okay. Fuck. What were they doing?
So in the beginning of the movie, it cuts back to the big fight in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And of course, there you see the two parents and a younger version of the daughter.
Yeah.
And they're running around the rubble trying to find somebody, and he keeps calling out the name Andrew, which we later learn is their son, who ended up dying during the battle.
The incident, yeah.
Shout out to Andrew, who graduated yesterday. That's my boy.
and so then it cuts to It cuts to 2019.
Yeah. I like that they did it in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like relative.
Yeah, and then we see that the young girl, who's now played by Millie Bobby Brown, is looking through her email, and she sees an email from her father, and you kind of understand that their parents are no longer together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the mom. So I guess the mom made this device called Orca, which is like a basically in the first.
So she works for Monarch. By the way. She's a Monarch scientist.
And if you remember in the first one,
I think they both worked for Monarch.
Yeah,
at that point.
And if you remember in the first one, they used the auto. What's it called?
In that they called it like bioacoustic.
Yeah, the acoustics, like bats and everyone else use. Yeah, so she made a thing like that so she could connect to the monsters basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what happened was that the dad didn't think it was a good idea to use that for the monsters, because if you put any random frequency like a whale or something, they're just gonna go crazy because you don't know what you're saying. Because you see when she uses the first one, she's just pressing fucking buttons. She doesn't know until she fucking
finds
it.
Because she uses it with the larval form of Mothra.
Yeah.
Which is the little caterpillar.
Yeah.
And it was already going like batshit because they like
little.
Because they scared it and then shot it, and then it was like going crazy, so she was just like making it worse. But yeah, so they split initially. I don't know if they split over the Orca or not. I think it was implied that they split because they weren't dealing with the son's death correctly.
Oh yeah, one wanted to keep working towards.
Yeah, because I know the dad said like, oh, he started drinking, and then she started like putting all of herself into the Orca system.
At least I didn't run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in that case, I would sort of say the dad was right a little bit.
Well, I think we should get to the end of it before we say exactly why the dad was right in that aspect, because it like in terms of grieving, it kind of puts everything in this perspective.
Yeah.
So the dad goes, and he's still like a scientist, but I think he's working with wolves. And I'm pretty sure that's why they tie in the whole aspect of the alpha and the pack and all this other stuff. Technically, also that those theories about an alpha male
Don't
wolf
exist.
they've actually been disproven by the same man who wrote that stuff. The only reason that there was an alpha in a pack of the wolves that they had was because they were all wolves from all different regions. So one of them just it doesn't actually happen in normal
real life,
normal nature. But yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter because it still made like a pretty cool like theme of everything.
Yeah.
So the mom finished the Orca system to try and send out the alpha signal to whatever creature, whatever Titan was in front of it, so it would like be docile and like subservient, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like right off the bat, that stuff's like. You know where that leads, right? You're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have monsters fight each other because we said so,
Yeah.
Like that's exactly where that goes. There's no two ways around it. And then so later you start to learn more about each of them, and then spoiler alert, you find out the mom's whole deal was that she's working with the villain organization, which I don't even remember what they called themselves.
It was just it was a guy from the British Army.
Yeah, it was just some guy from the British Army who wanted all the Titans to be awakened and then to just level the Earth, right? And so she I guess she also believed that, and she was like, yeah, we're gonna awaken all the Titans, have them level the Earth because people deserve to die, and we need a new apocalypse, right? And then they start, and then this is the scene where I thought we need to talk about it, because like they have like the video call. Right, and then she says all of that shit. She lays that all out on the table. It's not hidden. It's not. She's like, yeah, no, I think people should all die. I was
Well,
like,
it's not that she thought that people should all die. It's just that she acknowledged the fact that we had grown to an unsustainable level.
Well, it's not even that. It's just it's our fault the Titans came back because of all the
well,
the Titans.
Because of what we've been doing.
Yeah, because
to the
she
Earth.
took what Shirazawa was saying at the beginning of the movie, where he said stuff like that, like, oh, the Titans are coming back because we did atomic testing in the ocean, so Godzilla woke. We were strip mining places, so we found the Mutos. All this other stuff, like every time one of these Titans is discovered, it's because we were doing something that was harmful to the Earth, and they're here to rebalance things, And
because we later learned that their radiation actually in areas that they've already destroyed, like San Francisco and Las Vegas, was causing growth to happen at an accelerated rate in order to kind of restore the environment.
Yeah, so there was some truth in what she was saying, but she took it into like an extremist level. She was like, no, just level the whole fucking planet. Fuck it. But I know Shirazawa wasn't thinking that. She
even told people to, she told them to get as many people as they could and get into the bunkers.
Yeah.
So that way humanity would survive.
Yeah.
And start over. But
she did it with the intention of knowing that billions of people were going to die. It was definitely going to be billions.
At the very least, hundreds of millions.
And so when you compare that to the opposing ideology that the dad had at the beginning of the movie, which was we should just fucking kill the Titans, which seems pretty reasonable because the logic behind that was like, well, if we kill the Titans can't hurt anybody. Her logic is like, if we unleash the Titans, they hurt a lot of people, and then what's left over will be A-okay. And I don't know why she thought like those things were on par. I guess that's just any extremist view, really, is that they kind of think those two arguments are of the same.
But I mean, if there's one thing that we've learned from the one of the big reasons why her idea wouldn't work, at least in my opinion, is if there's one thing that we've learned about humanity is that over time we have a tendency to forget.
Absolutely.
Or not care about what happened in the past.
Absolutely.
So
and that's kind of already like in the movie, like where they go and research these things. Like, these things existed like a few thousand years ago. So here's all the writing about them, and they're like, well, why the fuck don't we just know that they exist?
So by sitting there, and yes, the Titans would definitely destroy, if not all, at least a very a majority of man-made things. And while the environment may then correct itself, who's to say that when in another 2,000 years, it's not going to be exactly the same way again? Because it's most likely what would have ended up happening. All you essentially would have done was hit the reset button and had humanity do it all over again.
Yeah, just play that same fucking scenario.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the first 5 minutes of a video game always typically go the same.
Exactly.
And if you hit the reset before the 5 minutes is up, you're going to have the exact same experience.
Yep. It's gonna be running into that Imperial ambush in Skyrim over again.
Yeah. The dragon's always gonna fuck up the castle.
Yep. Yep. What? So yeah, that's all there is to the humans, really. Because then it doesn't really get too deep. It's just that little ethical issue. Some people die. Some people do die. Like some of the bigger names. So they actually did kill off both of the human characters that were from the past movie.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a weird move.
I feel like we'll see with that. I don't know, cause like
who else was from the past movie? I know the
girl doctor, and then
the girl that got eaten, bro, in the ice.
Yeah, she got eaten. She got ate, and that was like so anticlimactic too. Like they were just running, and Ghidorah just took a bite of the ice where she was, and then we're just supposed to forget about it.
I knew somebody died, but that was like one of the parts where I was kind of like dozing.
It
wasn't fully.
It was
asleep.
the British doctor lady. I forget what her name is. His name was like Vivian or something.
Oh, was it? It was the one that was with the Japanese doctor in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
When they were at the press conference.
Yeah.
Not the press conference, but
the trial.
Yeah.
I think it was a trial.
Vivian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now I know who you're talking about. Like I knew somebody died. I just didn't remember who.
They killed both of those people. And it kind of sucked. And for Vivian, I feel bad because she was she just didn't get a chance to do anything. Shirazawa got his chance to like be useful, and like he got his input all this fucking time and all this other stuff, and his death was kind of tragic and heroic and everything, but she didn't really get that, and that felt kind of a disservice to her. And also I just really don't care anymore about the dad and the mom, and I hope they're not like the main human characters in the next movie.
Well, we know one of them isn't going to be.
I was hoping Quicksilver.
Oh yeah.
she got fucking vaporized by
she
Godzilla.
She did. And I guess the dad was like okay near the end because he was one of the people that was like, yeah, they all need to fucking die. They're all monsters, especially
I guarantee
Godzilla.
you, if anybody comes back, it'll be an older version of Millie Bobby Brown's character.
Yeah, which I wouldn't
She'll
mind.
become a scientist like her parents.
Yeah.
She'll be trying to sit there and control Godzilla to where the point they can sit there and call on him whenever.
Because she didn't get a lot either, but near the end of the movie, where the part where she was like a main focus, like it was pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty cool. She like screamed at Ghidorah. She's like, ah!
See, the thing about Godzilla, which I like. Hold on, I'm gonna try to sit up really quick. I can't do it, so I'll wait next episode. But what I like about Godzilla, which I noticed, because throughout all the Godzillas, you rather have the Godzilla that's just crazy, going through the world, just blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
There's the one that helps fight off the monsters, which fighting off the monsters when they're in his way, when he's destroying. So he's like an anti-hero. Then there's the ones where they paint him as the hero when they call him. And in this one, I kind of seen when in the 2014 one, you see, I don't know, there's like stuff that kind of make you like, oh, did he do that on purpose or was it an accident? For instance, when on the bridge, in the first one, when they're all on the bridge and the kids are on the bus, and then like everything's going shit, and then they see the Muto coming, and then like they shoot the rockets, the helicopter shoot the rockets through the bridge, and then it's about to hit the bus, and then Godzilla comes up and he blocks it. And then he looks at the kids, and then he turns out the Muto and goes at it. So that makes me seem like I'm like, oh, he blocked it.
Yeah, because it's something they can do with this one because this one is all CGI. It's not the dude in the suit. You know? Is that they can put that like a question for the viewer, like when they see it, it's like, well, what do you think? Does this look like he's doing it on purpose? Do you think he's like a sentient thing, not just like a creature? Does he think does he have like higher thought? And so they play with it a lot in that movie. I saw it kind of felt that way, especially when you get to the end of the first one where he just gets up and like leaves without like just fucking causing a scene.
Yeah, and they're all clapping and like it says King of the Monsters or whatever.
Yeah, and then in this one they do a pretty good job too, because there's multiple instances where you see him like relating to the human characters just for like a split second, like, and it's not like incredibly deep, but there's like enough there for you to like speculate, you know what I mean? And so I thought that was really good.
They did a good job. And like Manuel said, there is a lot of parts. There's when he comes in clutch and like he tackles Ghidorah, he's chasing him, but like the timing, like when it's about to be like a character being hit, like he just comes in and tackles it. There's times when like he's face to face, or he like gives like not like a nod, but he's like, he could kill you, but he doesn't, because he sees you, and then that's what I really like about this Godzilla, because I always, for a fan of Godzilla, I'm like, they're trying to do something different with him, other than making him look
it's funny too, because like in the old movies, of course, so like in his first appearance, he was like a metaphor for the atomic bomb and destruction that can cause. So of course he was an equivalent to a force of nature that couldn't be stopped, that was gonna destroy everything in its path, and there's no like reasoning with it, you know what I mean? And so it was just a force of destruction. So there was no. So like yes, you could vilify it, but in a sense it was just doing what it's gonna do, and that is destroy. And then as you move on in time, it's like, oh well, Godzilla's here, he's blowing shit up, but there's this other monster who's also gonna blow shit up. Oh, but Godzilla's gonna take that one down, and then. And then when you get into the later movies, he is, of course, Godzilla. He's like the savior, the king of the monsters, that shit. And we got there pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In these movies. But I like being at that spot. I like being able to cheer for Godzilla from the get-go.
Yeah. I see a lot of I also see a lot of similarities from the 2000 Godzilla, the one when he's in New York, the Zilla, in the animated cartoon. I know I talked to you about that on the way home, because there's like, just like, for instance, well, it's all from the animated show, from the from the Zilla one. If you guys don't know what that is, the one from New York. If you haven't seen it, it's okay. If you've seen it,
with
I'm
Matthew
sorry.
Broderick.
Yeah, the one with Matthew Broderick.
If you've seen it, I'm sorry if you don't like it. I mean, but
chances are you didn't like it.
Also from the 19, I don't know which one. Well, it's called Godzilla. The Son of Godzilla, which they show Monster Island, and a lot of those monsters that are on there are like not the main ones, but it's like a praying mantis and like a spider, and that's what the Titans. Some of the Titans we see, it's a spider. It's a reuse of the Muto from the first one. There's like a mammoth. What do you call it? Like a mammoth.
A mastodon.
Like a mastodon, and that's it. That's the only ones. And then there's that big mountain looking Torterra.
Yeah, but that one didn't show up at the end. We only caught a little glimpse of that one.
Yeah. So there's I thought that was a cool shout out, and that's the same kind of monsters you see in the animated show as well. They're just like bigger monsters or something. And then they said they showed the Wyoming, and that's also in the animated one, if I'm not corrected. I didn't see all of them because they were on, like, I think they were on Fox or something. And the Fox Kids, I think they was on or something.
Yeah, it was
like
a
that.
Fox. I think it was a Fox.
And the
Kids
ones
show.
that I seen were on DVD, which only has 3 episodes, and they were split apart. If I remember correctly, Wyoming's were the New Jersey Devil, which is like a bat. And then I know at the end they kind of showed like a picture of a bat like that when they're talking about the monsters. So it's pretty unique how they incorporate. How you said how they give like good nods to all the monsters in general, and also as the franchise in itself, like some stuff like you said, like they're just like really tying all the monsters. Like I told you.
Yeah, so because they took a lot of liberties in saying what these things are. They called them Titans, whereas in Japan they call them kaiju, but kaiju just means like big monster, essentially, or like I think it only means monster. But yeah, so we call them Titans, and so they're saying that they're natural beings that are like, and they kind of explain them like, oh yeah, these things are like gods, they're and then we kind of see that in the movie where they go, life follows and stuff, other stuff such as that. But they still give them like details and that are like that are still associated with their initial origin, like where they talk about Mothra and they have like the scientist or whatever who's head of that, and then you see that where she starts talking about her family, and then you see the twins, that her parents and her grandparents, and that's like a nod to the regular Mothra where they had the little magical twins, that sing the song. And then when they talk about Ghidorah, and they say like, oh yeah, Ghidorah is not of this earth, he's not part of the natural food chain, he's from space,
Monster Zero,
and they call him Monster Zero, which is like what they had first called him in the first
appearance,
this first movie, and just stuff like that. And then I think the only one I'm not too familiar with is Rodan. I don't know why he came out of a volcano. I don't know if he does that.
No, they called him
they called him the fire demon.
Yeah, so I guess he shoots fire. I mean, I never remember him.
I didn't remember him. I thought he was just a dinosaur.
I remember he threw rocks. I remember.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah.
And of course they talk about Skull Island a lot without actually showing.
And they show footage of Kong.
Yeah, just a little bit. But he doesn't actually do anything in this movie.
See, I don't. Well, do you care if I talk about Kong? I mean,
bro, I know what happens in it.
Okay, well, when you talked about the 2 main characters, scientists dying, right, from the first one, that happened in Kong as well. Like the 2 people from Monarch who came, they both. Well, no, one of them, the main guy died, and then his assistant basically took his role. So I'm wondering if it's gonna be the same thing. Like if the next movie is Godzilla versus King Kong, are we gonna see like an older version of him and the assistant? Because it's sort of like the same thing. Because it was him. It was the guy from Roseanne. What's his name?
John Goodman.
And it was some other guy. And then that guy had like it wasn't his assistant, but it was like another field specialist. And then when John Goodman died, at the end, his assistant took John Goodman's spot, and then the field person took the assistant spot, which mirrored the 2 people from the Godzilla movie as well, and they're dead. So I'm wondering how that's gonna. It's kind of like.
Well, I know they were just trying to fill the roles, because I know the what was her name? The Chinese woman. Her and the dad are gonna be like, I'm pretty sure, like the main focuses now. And they might have that one assistant dude. I didn't know what his job was.
Which one?
The weird one.
Oh, Sam.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what his job is, but
they said what everywhere. He was. I forgot what he was. Basically, he's whatever the dad used to be, because he said, "Oh, I got hired once you left."
That makes sense.
So I don't whatever. Fucking
Okay.
yeah, it's just a feeling.
And yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure those two are gonna be the focuses of the next movie. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Mothra's gonna come back in some shape or form.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure, because she's supposed to be twins with the one doctor that was studying Mothra.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that there's gonna be the scene where they meet, and it's obviously CGI, like Parent Trap. You know what I mean? Where they're the same actors looking at themselves.
Yeah. I want to talk about a couple of the like little changes they did a little bit. It's not a lot. Like for instance, there's when Godzilla fights Ghidorah. Spoiler.
Happened a few times.
If Godzilla ripped one of the heads off of Ghidorah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck, you like you fucking harmed the fuck out of him. And then like 2 seconds later, he just fucking grew it back.
Yeah.
And that's, from my knowledge of all the, I never seen that happen in any of the old Godzillas. So I'm guessing, like you said, like if the middle head stays intact. Because
because a lot of times my theory is that because a lot of times when you see the middle heads, they butt heads. You know what I mean? They're like picking at each other. It's the middle head that seemed dominant. That was always like nipping the other two and like biting them or whatever, and so I feel like that's like the real one. You know what I mean? Like the focus, the main center of the being as a whole.
Oops.
Yeah.
So I like that. I mean that was pretty cool. And then another thing, like I said in the intro, that when Mothra came, they called her the queen of the monsters.
Yeah.
But that was never a thing. So, and they kind of insisted, like, Godzilla's with Mothra. Like, how does that happen? Like, I mean, I have no problem with it.
That's weird. I mean, because that's always what it's kind of been, is that Mothra's always been like the number 2 to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like whenever like the big fights happen, and so for them to put it that way, I know it has some weird implications, but.
Yeah, they basically said they had sex with each other.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but
no, but they kind of implied it because they're like, how will they get? Isn't that kind of different? They're like, oh no, cross species isn't like.
Well, the term they used was a symbiotic relationship. Was that they both provide something for the other one, and then we kind of see that in the fights where Mothra is like really like trying her best to save Godzilla. You know, like you can kind of see that happening where she's like actively like doing that as like her goal.
Yeah. So like at the part in the movie when
of course she's trying to
basically in the beginning of the movie, they're like, how come Monarch isn't sharing all this, blah blah blah, you know? And so they're like, why can't the military get involved since y'all can't control it? So halfway through the movie, once Godzilla and Ghidorah are fighting, the government made
they call it an oxygen bomb.
And it hit Godzilla and Ghidorah, but Ghidorah got away with it, and Godzilla, I guess, died for a mere second or disappeared.
Well, they heard it the way they made it sound was that Godzilla died.
Yeah,
because they were like listening to its biometrics or whatever they called it, and then they were like, oh, his heart's slowing and his pulse, and then it just went like flat, like quiet.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's gone.
So, on that point, like, fucking Ghidorah was like, oh, yeah. He was all dancing. He had his hands up in the air. He was like, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm the king.
And that led to one of the, like, one of the scenes I thought was crazy. Because that's, like, right after the, so that was right after Rodan, got out of its containment in, like, somewhere in South America. I forget exactly where.
Mexico.
Was it Mexico?
Yeah, it was Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. So Mexico. My bad. And so Ghidorah flies back to that volcano and is like perched on top of it, and his heads are spread out and his wings are spread out, and then in the same shot you see like a cross, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just thought like that shot was like crazy because I was like, oh, okay, all right, we just flat out saying that this thing is a god, okay.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool, and then when they're the orca, they were using the echolocation kind of thing. Basically, it wasn't working. Well, Ghidorah started like, he was like whoop 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 whoop.
Yeah, he put out his own call.
Yeah, and basically every single Titan that was in containment or out there, it just fucking went batshit wild.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, I thought we were gonna release him 1-on-1, and she was like, oh, I didn't do that shit.
And then the mom was like, I'm not doing this, and they're like, oh well, I guess he is, and so the British dude's like fine with this. He's like totally okay with it. He's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, this isn't how I planned it, but it's still going exactly how it's supposed to. And then
I said that's Tywin Lannister for you.
Yeah, that is who it was. Yeah, you're right. And then it's the Monarch team that actually like starts questioning. He's like, well, how the fuck is he doing this? And like, why is he doing it? And like, what's up with this? And then they come to the conclusion that he's a fucking alien.
Yeah, I was like, they're just like, oh yeah, it's probably because he's not from this world. I'm like, what? And they're like, what do you mean? Yeah, so he's from Planet X.
I mean, they didn't say all that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying.
They just said he was.
I mean, but in the old ones, he's from Planet X. But yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
Wonder if they are gonna go that far. Then there's like a space Godzilla and everything. So how far do you think they're gonna take this, like the Godzilla series in this new series specifically?
Well, I mean, obviously we already have.
I know we're gonna
Godzilla
get versus King Kong
next.
Yeah.
And then of course do we want to spoil the ending, the end credit scene?
I mean, most of the end credit stuff was.
But I mean.
The after credit scene. Yeah. So the after credit scene, you see the Lannister man saying some cryptic shit to some dude who I guess it was a fisherman.
Yeah.
And they found something. What was it?
It was Ghidorah's head.
Yeah. Oh, it was Ghidorah's head, the one that Godzilla bit off in the ocean.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we all pretty much believe that we're going to get Mecha Ghidorah.
And I called that last time. Remember? I think we were talking, I was like, Mecha Ghidorah. But then I was thinking, well, the way they made it, because, like, when Godzilla beat Ghidorah with his full atomic mode thing, I was just like, okay, well, that's smart, because I was like, Mecha Ghidorah is kind of out there anyways, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I was like, yeah, the other two heads are robotic, there's only one, and then they showed that, I was like, oh, fuck, they're just gonna...
But, I mean, another one that people want to see is Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah. So
it's got to happen.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that might honestly just be the same movie as the Mecha Ghidorah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You think you'd have them both?
I mean,
like
we had
Mecha
Rodan and Ghidorah and Mothra all in this movie, and this is
flames.
this is only the third fucking movie, and they're like, yeah, fuck it, just go.
I would see it that way too.
Throw 'em out.
I would see it that way too, because if they would do a Mecha Godzilla then a Mecha King Ghidorah, then they'll be like, oh, didn't we just see this shit like the last time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Because so I feel like if they did it in the same movie, I feel like if they were to do because we already.
Well, I mean, you could definitely put a movie or two in between those.
Nah.
So like you have. Well, here's the thing, and here's my reasoning. Like you have Mecha Ghidorah, who's built by the secret organization or whatever he is, and it fights Godzilla, nearly beats Godzilla. Monarch sees how, or everybody else sees how close he came to beating him. So then, over the next, while in the background, over the next couple of movies, he fights other monsters, but they've been secretly building Mecha Godzilla that's even better than the Mecha Ghidorah to try and finally beat him.
That sounds like a lot.
I feel like I feel like if the mechanical theme would come up twice in two different movies,
I think if you did it right, it could work. But like back to back, obviously no.
I don't know. Well, because once you do Mecha Ghidorah, like that's pretty far along the line of like power as far as power levels are concerned. So anything between those two would feel lackluster and kind of sucky.
Yeah, because you gotta remember in the movie they basically said that Ghidorah was a god, and then Godzilla was obviously a god. So
they called them apexes.
Yeah, they're both like fighting for. They basically have cage rather than fighting. So if you make like Mecha, Mecha Ghidorah, it's gonna be kind of like the same thing. Because other than him being robotic, I mean that shit can melt. And the thing about it was like, what about if they like, for instance, like on the Supergirl, Mecha's Superman, or whatever they called him. It's like in Cyborg Superman. Yeah, he's not even like Superman himself. It's just a guy who has Superman's power, but it's like a robot at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, an evil version of Cyborg.
So, like, what if they do it like that? What if they, instead of not making Mecha Ghidorah, but they use the power or DNA from Ghidorah to make like a Mecha Godzilla, and they just call it Mecha Godzilla by using the DNA and like having like a form of power, and then building around that to make a robot. And that's probably a way they can do it. Cause like Mecha Ghidorah, like, I mean, he's cool looking, but like he's just the same thing. You know what I mean? And then if they want to go the line,
well, I mean that's why I'm saying that Mecha Ghidorah and Mecha Godzilla would be like together, like, and they both like happen at the same time. You know what I mean? They're like where they kind of were like, oh well, you took our fucking Titans from us, so we just went ahead and made our own Titans. We're gonna go through our fucking plan, and no matter what. So we got, King Ghidorah, who like, so we have like we still have like a little
Apex.
like a biological aspect to this. We're like, well, we're gonna try and still have something that can control the other Titans, but then something that can match Godzilla, which is like a robotic clone to as close as we could to actual Godzilla, you know what I mean, and have those two things happen at the same time because they feel like because they're thematically similar enough, and just the I can't think of the word, but the reasoning behind them would work together. Like the motivation is the word I was thinking. The motivations would be similar enough that I think they could happen at the same time.
Yeah, because like other than this, there's like a couple of monsters left. There's I named them all earlier. There's Anguirus. There is Gigan. There is Mechagodzilla. There's Destroyer, which should be like the last thing Godzilla fights at all, because that's the one that kills him and ends like the old movies, basically. And I think that's about it. And then you wanted what is it, Ultraman?
Oh yeah, Ultraman. Ultraman needs to happen.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I don't
be
know
a cool ally.
It would.
That should be put in the Mechagodzilla one. That'd be funny.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be
Oh
funny.
god, that'd be so tight.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
That'd be funny. Yeah.
It'd be so fucking like cheesy too, like when they put him in there. Oh god.
Yeah.
That's
so
just a dream.
There's not. I mean, they did use like kind of the A-listers, right? Like right now. But
Some of them.
Some of them, yeah. But there's not like really anything that could be probably put on its own movie in a future line without like having like a bunch more. Like how different would the movie be if it was just Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah? Because like basically in the whole fucking movie, Rodan was just like a fucking, oh shit, you're strong, I serve you. Oh shit, you're strong, I serve you. I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I tell you because I'm just a fucking bird.
Yeah.
And then they add Mothra in there, and that's a whole other element because
because I know Mothra was there to serve the function of being able to resurrect Godzilla in a sense.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to show that Godzilla would be beaten by this thing,
and also that's
a possibility.
And also that not all Titans are bad.
Yeah.
Because in the promotional stuff, they have Godzilla as God, they have King Ghidorah as king, they have Rodan as fucking bird.
It's a bird.
I don't remember. And then they have Mothra as protector.
Yeah.
Because that's what Mothra was never a bad monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was protecting, and that's what he did. It protected. It was like the team player, like he just came and helped Godzilla. It fought Rodan, then Rodan came and started fighting, and they had cool little aerial battles, and Mothra stabbed the fuck out of Rodan, like the shoulder blade, and Rodan's like, oh.
I could have swore he stabbed him in the chest.
No.
It kind of looked that way from like the perspective.
You gotta think of the bird's like makeup. That's like its wing slash. It just felt like his chest is like.
Because we saw it from the back. We saw it poke through, and so like it just the perspective of how it was, because Rodan was like pinning Mothra to this building.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you see Mothra like get angry. I don't know how they did it. How they made Mothra's eyes look like it was like frustrated, but they did.
Dude, it was my favorite part when Mothra first came in to help Godzilla, and she fucking spit the silk or whatever you want to call it, and it fucking hit.
It just fucking stuck his head to the
I was
building.
like, Spider-Man's here too. But it was so cool. And then they fought Rodan. Rodan like burned the shit out of it. Super effective bug typing fire.
Yeah.
And then it got the final last lap because it stabbed it, and that thing was out for a minute.
It didn't come back till the very, very end of the movie.
Yeah. So and then Mothra was already beat up, and Godzilla was going ultrasonic in his little mode he had.
Yeah.
Right, and then and that's the thing we gotta talk about before. Godzilla got hurt. Well, when we told you what was the oxygen bomb?
The oxygen
it disappeared,
bomb,
and then somehow they got sucked in. I don't know how.
What?
When they were like trying to find Godzilla, and then they got sucked into that wormhole.
It wasn't a wormhole.
But that's basically
it was a water path through a hollow tunnel in the earth. Is how they explained.
Okay, yes, and then it was like Atlantis, basically in a sense. I
Yeah,
don't know what it was.
and then it led them out to like an underwater like temple that was probably above water at some point. I'm assuming, that was pretty much like a shrine to Godzilla.
Yeah.
And so when they get there, and they see that Godzilla's here, he's alive and well. Mothra leads them here. By the way.
Mothra.
They encounter Mothra, and Mothra's kind of just like shining in front of them, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna follow Mothra. Mothra knows something."
Yeah.
And so Mothra leads them here, obviously through that tunnel, because I guess Mothra would also know where those tunnels are if Godzilla does. And then Godzilla's resting here, and they're like, "Oh, he's still alive. We still got him. He just needs to recharge." And they're like, "Oh, it's gonna take him forever to recharge. It's gonna take him like 4 years or something." And they're like, "Oh fuck, we can't wait that long."
Yeah, so they said the guy was just like, "Oh, dude, why don't we just like
shoot a missile at him?"
Yeah, and then they
shoot
like,
the atomic warhead at him.
Well, that's crazy because he was like, our fucking shooters are down.
Our weapons are broken.
So then the guy was just like, "I'll do it." And
Shirazawa.
Yeah, and he just took it there. He walked there, and then like he activated it.
And then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's too hot in there. It's too radioactive in there." And he's like, "Oh fuck it, whatever." He takes the warhead in there, puts it on a timer, and like walks up to Godzilla's head and like touches him and like looks him in the eyes, and it's like this really.
I have a few things to talk about that. About that part.
It was like
later.
I was like, "Oh my god." And he says goodbye, old friend, and I'm like, "Oh boy."
Yeah. So my question with that was like, okay, after that bomb like fueled Godzilla to the point where he went into his like warhead. What was it called again?
I don't know what exactly.
Atomic.
Atomic. They said he was
basically
going to go atomic.
in Godzilla lore, when that happens, like that's where Godzilla kind of dies because he's generating so much that his body can't.
Mm-hmm.
His radiation, he can't even handle it for himself, so he's like looks like he's burning.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what happened in Destroyer. He was dying, but Destroyer came because the radioactive awoke him, the radiation. So I was like, dang. I was like, how did that one little nuke do that to him?
Yeah.
But they were like launching shit at him, and he didn't do that earlier, like in the first movie. You know what I mean?
Well, because they weren't hitting him with nukes in the first movie. They were just hitting with ballistic missiles.
Well,
the only time they used the nuke was to lure the Muto and Godzilla.
No, they used it because they said in the first one that.
Well, those were smaller bombs. Then they said exactly the scales, like those were megatons, not kilotons or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's like I want to say it's like a ratio of like 1,000. Mm-hmm. Like these are like 1,000 times stronger.
Yeah. So
that's like a candy, and this was like a fucking Monster Energy drink. So he chugged it, and he was just winning. He's like, yes.
Yeah. So he looked like he was on fire. He was like all red and everything.
Well, he wasn't yet.
Yeah.
I feel like some of that came from in the middle of the fight with Ghidorah, Mothra gets fucking vaporized.
Yeah, he sacrificed himself.
Yeah, and then turns into like this magical stardust stuff that falls on Godzilla, and he kind of absorbs it. Yeah. And then it's soon after that Godzilla turns like red, like molten red, and he's like glowing and shit. And I think I'm assuming that it's a combination of the Mothra dust and then him about to go atomic and explode. Because then after that he does explode, but it's like a controlled explosion where he's like shooting out this
Yeah,
heat
he
energy.
seems to be doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and like it's because he charges it with his back, like he would his laser, you know, and you hear it charging, and he kind of uses that to just fucking like vaporize Ghidorah.
Yeah, and it was so cool because like he does that and he's shooting, and you can see like it's disintegrating, like his wings are getting disintegrated. And
Yeah, his
everything.
wings were the first to fucking go. His
Yeah,
wings were just gone.
And then like he blew up, and then like rubble erupting, and you see the spikes, and you're like, oh, Godzilla survived. Then it's like Ghidorah's head, and then when he gets up and up and up, and his head is in Godzilla's mouth, and it's like, he's like eating him. He's like, and then like he just fucking blows him away. Just fucking
So and because you see. Because that head was definitely alive, like it was moving on its own accord. But then you like see it start like lifting up, and then it's lifting up because it's in Godzilla's mouth, and Godzilla's like as the final finishing blow, like opens his mouth up into the air with this head into it, and does one last atomic breath and just finishes it off, and it's just gone. And that was a good ending. That felt really good. It was on par with in the first one when he first did his atomic breath.
Fit the fire down that dude.
Yeah, and that stuff too. So as far as like the way I wanna like rate this movie is like the level of hype I was when I saw the first one, where in that one shot you see the lights of his tail before you actually see Godzilla in the first one, and he goes do 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 do
Yeah.
do, and just the amount of hype was in me because I saw that one in theaters as well.
Yeah.
That when that moment happened, I did feel in this movie as well. For like a few
I was
times.
worried they weren't even going to do that in the first one because the last one, which would be the 2001, from when he was in New York.
He didn't get his atomic breath at all,
No,
did he?
no, but they did a little shout out to it when he yelled and like he blew up some cars and the cars and his breath in the cars exploding made the fire. That was it, and I was just like, and they did a good job keeping that a secret too, because the whole movie, that he's just fighting and biting and stuff, and then he does that. I'm like, they fucking did it, and then they even meant like even if it was a joke to like talk about it, they're like the fucking soldiers like, oh my god, what is that? Do you see that? Like because they're like, what the fuck? And that's maybe how the fans were, because they're like, oh shit, they actually did it, because like you didn't fucking know I was gonna do it.
Yeah, and so just everything Godzilla does in this movie was just like. It was good. It was good to see him do it. It felt so good.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about some things that I want to theorize a little bit because of what knowledge I know of Godzilla. So when Godzilla's fighting Ghidorah picks him up and drops him to the ground. I kind of knew that he could survive that because that happened before in older movies where they just drop him and he just lives it. Like he fell from the moon to Earth and fucking lived. So I was like, oh fuck, he's not gonna die. And even when he got up, he was like, oh fuck.
Well, because they kind of talk about like how sturdy his body's supposed to be because I thought it was in the first movie where they talk about it, like where the pressure of the ocean being on him if he deep dives should crush him. Especially if he's also able to support himself on land.
Yeah.
I don't know which. It's in one of them. It might have been Shin Godzilla where they said something like that, where its mass being able to survive underwater would mean that it wouldn't be able to walk on land, because like either its bones would break or something, but like something or other. But like he's incredibly sturdy, is what we're supposed to know. Like he can take hits.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
And then one thing I also want to know is want to talk about is that at the end when we talked about Godzilla when he was like basically eating and like blew away Ghidorah's head in his mouth. If you notice at the end, I mean it could be two things. It could be just for effect, or it could mean something more. When he did that and he's looking off, you can see that in his mouth, there's electricity in his mouth.
I thought that was kind of like a little joke.
It was a joke, but in older Godzilla stuff in the movies, he does control electricity and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
He could absorb in his body and shoot off of the impulse. So I thought, I was like, oh cool, that's like it's a nod. It's a nod and a joke as well. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool how they did that. There's also the part where the guy what's his name? I don't know how to say his name. The monarch guy.
Which one? Shirazawa?
Yeah. When he said goodbye, old friend, and he died, and like it blew up, and he came out, and then he looked at the guys. I was thinking like, so are they trying to say that, well, obviously Godzilla came back, and when he looked at them, like, he just stared at them for a minute, and then he's like, "All right, let's go," and he left. I was thinking, I was like, did Godzilla know what, like when he blew up? I don't know, like not like is his essence going to Godzilla? No, I'm not trying to say, that, but like, did he?
I think that's supposed to be like not like a real thing, but I think that's supposed to be like a cinematic, like spiritual thing. Like, that you're supposed to. That we just lost this character, but brought another character back. That you're supposed to see that character inside this character.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like a writing thing. I don't think it's like we're supposed to take like from a scientific standpoint. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, we were supposed to see like that. But this is also the moment where the dad, whatever the fuck, the main guy, whatever, main white guy, realizes the other frequency inside the orca that made it work.
Yeah.
He's like, it was Godzilla, and it was humans.
Yeah, the guy was like,
and like that's when he realized it, because they kind of just connected on a level without having to like do anything. He's like, oh fuck, we give out our own frequency. I didn't even fucking think of that. I didn't think of that either. I had no idea. That's not what I thought at all.
The Most Dangerous Hunts. Remember that book? Read in middle school.
So that was interesting. That has some weird implications to it. I think also that we're probably gonna explore in the later movies.
Yeah. So that's what some like little fun facts that like I was talking about, because I was like, it'll be cool, how cool would it be, like he's fighting someone else later down the line, and like Atomic Breath isn't doing it, and he's just like, and he just shoots off electricity, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like, oh, he got that from Ghidorah. Sort of like on Fairy Tale when they eat like different like elemental stuff, the dragon slayers, and like then they could just like tie that into it. I mean, I know it's not an anime, it's completely different, but sort of like that, like the fire, you can eat electricity and combine electricity with fire, stuff like that. It was just kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't so the way they explained Ghidorah's powers was that he was, because of course he was an alien, and that he was here to kind of try and like terraform the earth, I guess.
Yeah, to make his own little.
Yeah, to make like his own little habitat. So we don't know exactly what his powers are based on, but we know that most of the Titans are radioaction based.
Yeah, not all of them. Yeah, because they're talking about how everyone
like
gave
the
off
Mutos were like fed on it, like Godzilla was awakened because of it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. And also, I want to talk about like the ending, like during the end credits, not the end credit scene, but basically after the end of the whole movie, it shows like a bunch of like headlines, newspaper stuff, interviews, like excuse me, and it's basically that what the mom said was true. All this stuff that they said that was destroyed by Godzilla and everything was growing back, like they said. They're thinking about using now that they got everything, and Godzilla's the king and everything, and Godzilla's keeping all of them in check, basically.
Yeah.
They're not going around crazy like they were in the movie. They're thinking about using the Titans as an energy source.
Titan waste specifically, so Titan crap.
Yeah, so they're using it as an energy source. Monarch finally stopped
as a renewable energy source.
Yeah. And then Monarch finally stopped being so hush hush, and they gave out all the information about every single Titan, so they can have a way to defend against them. They found an egg, which might be Mothra, because if you guys don't know, Mothra dies repeatedly not because it's bad, but it happens.
Yeah.
And then they talk about all of their stuff, and then the key thing, the last 10 seconds of that part was, origins found of Titans on Skull Island. Skull Island.
Yeah, there was a few of them that pointed out Skull Island too.
And it showed them like going to it, like they're about to land, and then it ends. So that's what's gonna. So like I told Josh, and I told you when I found out that was the end credit scene, that it all goes back to Skull Island, because I'm thinking that Skull Island might be the monster island that's in the old Godzilla stuff, and it's easy to say that is. Because when you guys see Kong, or for everyone who sees Kong, there's nothing but fucking killer fucking monsters on there anyways.
Yeah.
There's nothing normal on there. So that could be where the new Monster Island is. And Kong is there just to be like, he's the apex there. He's the one that guards it, and there's a whole like little cult thing for him too.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking because based on what you were saying, I'm thinking that Kong is actually like a newer Titan.
Yeah.
Like he came after these other ones were at rest.
Yeah.
You know, and anything else on that island is probably newer. Like they were just born in the state of things. Like, of course, they're probably like decades old at least. You know, but like that's still young as far as Titans go, because these Titans are supposed to be like thousands of years old, like if not even further. So I feel like he's probably part of a new ecosystem, and that's how they're going to tie that together. As you know, how him and Godzilla would be on par with each other, especially after this movie.
Yeah, because Godzilla will be slow, and Kong is fast, strong, and he's going to be a tool user because he uses a lot of stuff like that in the movie. So it's going to be unique, and I feel like there's going to be like a third monster.
Probably. Because
I feel like they're going to fight and have beef, and it's going to be like a ploy, like a distraction from a bigger thing. And then they're going to be like, all right, bro, we both got like team up, basically. And then they're going to go their separate ways. And like, well, not separate ways, you know, they're still going to be relevant. But yeah, that's what I feel like it's going to go on with that.
Yeah.
So.
So is there anything else to talk about this movie?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask the question. This will be the closing question, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I seen that someone wrote on Twitter before I went to work for the training and everything. That you guys don't even know that, but a question is that some guy was saying that the first Godzilla was bad. It was horrible. He was naming all sorts of stuff. He was like basically saying it ruined the genre and whatever. And then he put it in his own on a comment on his own post saying that if you liked the first one, why did you like it? And what does it? And does this new movie what will bring what can they do more in the second movie? So what did you like in the first one that you seen in the second one that they built more on?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I feel like we talked a lot about it already.
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of people's gripe with the first one was that there wasn't enough monster in it, and my understanding as to why it was that way was that it was kind of a primer for what this movie is and what the future movies are definitely going to be. That they are monster heavy. There's going to be a lot going on, and so they kind of ease you into this universe that they created with the first Godzilla, where you're like, you along with the whole world are realizing that there are monsters, you know, and then there's one big monster, and that's Godzilla, and you're sort of just, you know, being eased into it. And you're given these characters that you're supposed to care about, like, and they all did a really good job. The actors in that first one, Bryan Cranston did a good job. It sucked that he died so early on. I don't know why they did that.
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were in there, and they did pretty good, you know. And of course Shirazawa and you know, what was it, Vivian? Yeah, Vivian were in it.
The girl that played Scarlet Witch wasn't in the first one.
Yeah,
she was the girlfriend.
It was Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Yeah, they were. I think they were married. So it was his wife.
It was his wife.
The mom of the kid.
Or Kick-Ass.
Yeah, that's who that was. Yeah, so they're brother and sister in one universe, and they're boning in that universe. So you know, whatever. Yeah, so
alternate universe.
Yeah, so
it's a little weird, Marvel.
Yeah, well, I mean, they bought up Star Wars, and Star Wars did it, so you know, whatever.
Anyway,
anyway, yeah. So there's not like too many aspects from the first movie that are in this movie. This movie like is in addition to. It's not. It's like an extension of the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's like your first chapter. So they're not like rehashing things that were in the first movie, really. Like, I guess the one thing I would say, because I already said it, was just the amount of hype and like climactic, to Godzilla using his powers or just him doing something incredible was there, as to where it felt so good to see it. Where like the music hyped it up, the scenery hyped it up, because like, you know, in the first Godzilla, like I said, when he charged up his tail and you see it slowly work his way all the way up to his head, and out comes the atomic breath for the first time. You know, he has several moments like that in this movie.
Yeah.
Like two, like at least I think two or three. I think three, where he does something like that, and it feels just as good as that one. And you know, you sometimes you know, they say that if you get it too much, it waters it down. I'm like, no, it was just as good every time. I liked it each time.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll say that they did a good job of. Because the first one was definitely like a cinematic movie. It was supposed to be like, it was supposed to be like at least a little like artistic, I guess, in a sense where they were teasing you the monster and how they normally do like creature flicks in the West, but this one kind of ignored that and was like, yeah, monsters, 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 but it still maintained all the cinematic quality that would still be there, you know. And so I guess that's what I will say.
Well, basically, from watching all the old Godzillas, and I feel like I'm saying that a lot. It's good. Like as a kid, it's cool to watch Godzilla go around blowing stuff up, and then something comes up, and he's fighting it while like he's a bad guy. But that gets kind of like over. Like I can't even count how many films there are, and then of him just being mindless like that. And I liked how in the first one, like I mentioned, in the 2014 one, the most recent one, we want to call it the last one.
Just say 2014.
Yeah, that they gave him sort of like a purpose. Like, he wasn't just a mindless monster.
Yeah, they did say that in the first one that he's the alpha or the leader.
And then
whatever.
they give you hints that he could be good by like accidentally blocking the blast, or did he know that was coming and he blocked the blast from the bridge to save the kids? When he's seen at the end after one fight and he's seen Quicksilver's character and he looked at him and he just like, hey man, it's been a long day. He didn't attack him. They both like looked at him and he gave like a sigh of relief, like fuck. And then in this one they give him a lot more like, is he helping? It's just, it builds off, and then they got the whole nods to every other Godzilla movie as well. I just like how they built on that, and it's just like they give him a purpose more than just being a mindless monster, which I like, and that's what I really like about it. It's like more to cheer for, like you said, and it builds up to those fight scenes and like everything. It's really good that they did that. Sort of like how they did a lot of like shout outs and Detective Pikachu. They gave a lot of shout outs and nods to all the old stuff.
Yeah, so it really held true to the source material while still adding so much of its own.
Yeah, not changing it completely. Like it's like
they
weird.
just kind of like shaved off a few edges of everything to make it fit into what they wanted, and it still was just so good. Yeah. So overall, so I'll say definitely watch it. This one's definitely worth a watch in theaters. Like, see it in theaters if you can, because it feels good to see all this stuff in like a big picture, because these are big creatures. So seeing it on a big screen is better, I think.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, well that's about it. That's what we liked about Godzilla. We talked about basically everything along the lines of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know. What do you think? What monsters do you think are coming up next, or do you think it's just gonna be like just a Mecha Godzilla, Mecha King Ghidorah kind of thing, like we said?
Does our opinions make sense? Do our theories make sense?
Theories make sense.
Does the movie make sense to you? Do we do all of those things? I mean, I feel like that's our mission statement.
Yeah, definitely.
So reply, comment. Subscribe also.
Ring that bell.
Ring the bell.
Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud. Just kidding.
SoundCloud. I will. I'm on it.
I will. I'm on it.
We're getting there.
Yeah, so let us know, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.
Hasta.